Well, thank you all for joining us here today. My name is Tim Hilton, and I'm with Peak Technology Partners. We're here today to talk about hiring, retaining, and engaging your employees for your medical practice. Today, I'm joined by Sarah Clark.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here today. I'm Sarah Clark. I am the healthcare partner for Rosen, Saperstein, and Friedlander. Been working in the healthcare industry my entire life, and just very happy to share the information that I have today with my wonderful partners here, Tim and Mary.
And Mary Knotts.
I'm Mary Knotts. I am the COO and partner at Peak Technology Partners. We are a healthcare IT-focused managed service provider, and I'm really passionate about HR and technology. It's what I've spent my career focusing on, so I'm happy to be here as well.
Awesome. So the reason we're here talking about this today is I was at a conference about a year ago where there was an HR presentation going on, and there were about 100 practices represented in the room. And as they went through their list of engagement questions, asking practices who does outings with their employees or provides lunch for their employees or snacks, or they had a long list of questions, and there were not a lot of hands being raised. That triggered inside me a need for this information to get out there, because we at Peak do a really great job at engaging our employees. It's something that is constantly on the being discussed within the companies. How can we do that? So I reached out to Sarah, who I know does a lot of that for RSNF, and we began talking about a presentation, and then we looped in Mary, and the result is what you're going to see here today. So Sarah, why don't you talk a little bit about why they need all of these tools and techniques to help?
Thank you, Tim. Yes, when you go to most healthcare organizations, especially your private physician medical practices, there is not an HR director. So the practice administrator is tasked with filling that role without the HR background. And you do see gaps in the knowledge on what's needed, both in human resources policies and procedures, but also as important in recruiting employees, retaining employees, and engaging employees.
Yeah.
So it's very important that they have the resources available to them to help them navigate such a critical part of the organization.
And even if they do have an HR department, a lot of times it's very small.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think also because of that factor, and not being in IT and being, focused in the role that they need to, they might not have the knowledge or understanding of all of the tools or applications that would be available to a practice that could help them be more successful in, hiring and retaining and engaging employees.
Exactly. First, we're going to talk about hiring the employees. So we're going to start off with Sarah.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. Again, I'm so happy to be here today, and Tim is so much on point that this is such an important topic. One of the things is hiring the right people for your organization. It's so important that you just don't pick people based on their resume or what their experience are. They have to have the right culture and personality fit for your organization. So the interview process should include testing for the skill set, making sure they do have the skills that can actually do the job, but also making sure that their personality is what is needed in the organization. Different industries and different environments require different personality types, and you want to make sure that when you're interviewing people, you're not going to, on the back end, spend a lot of time trying to coach the right personality into the person. It quite possibly may not even be something that you can do. And then you want to actually score the candidate on both their skill set and their personality to make sure that they're a right fit for the organization. There's so many different types of personality tests that's out there right now. There's a minimum of 23 type personality tests. We know most of them, Myers-Briggs, DISC, but there's so many more. And these tests can be used to determine if someone's a good leader. They can also be used to see if someone's a good team player. So whatever role that individual is being recruited for your organization, there's a personality test out there that can help determine if they're a right fit for the organization. So again, rather than just going through the interview process, having someone answer questions and then meeting later to see, determine whether or not they're a good fit, use those skill set tests and use those personality tests and score the candidates so that you can make sure you're picking the right person for that position.
That's that's a lot of great information, and I think that's really important. And technology tools can be used to assist medical practices and hiring managers to find the right people and to make sure that they're getting the right people on the bus to make sure that they're moving the practice forward and that they're having success. And I think one of the things that we use at Peak and what I've seen used at other healthcare practices are tools like Wonderlic or Predictive Index. Those are some of the applications or tools that can be used to help find the right person, because you can use that to put in the criteria of the job that you're looking for, that they're doing, and then it can formulate the questions and give you the results based on that. So that's a way in which technology can be used to help identify the right candidates.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Using just something simple as a video interview asynchronously. If you're requesting them to supply a short, response, it can shorten the time that the interview process takes, because you get a chance to observe, that person a little bit and their dialogue in an asynchronous video. We also use an applicant tracking system, and I think that's really valuable as well. It can also make the hiring process more efficient, because in an applicant tracking system, like we use Jazz HR, but there are lots of them out there. You can post your job on the job boards. The applicant tracking system can consolidate all of those resumes, can ask the important questions that needed to be asked to qualify and make sure, can incorporate the personality test that you're asking for, and can also give you valuable information on metrics around where are the most qualified applicants coming from, what job boards or what sources, and can also give you information about just the types of people that are coming in and their success as they move through the organization, how long they are with the organization. And you can find ways to create efficiencies in that job hiring process and make sure you get the right people.
That's really interesting. So not only does it help you in the recruitment process, but it helps you understand what type of candidates are successful in your organization.
Yeah.
So you mentioned job boards as a part of that, and there used to just be, Indeed and Monster, but now there's a ton of them out there. One that we've seen in the wild that is geared towards healthcare specifically is Capyear. They have developed a job board where they go out and prune candidates and then put them all together onto one job board where you're able to find high quality candidates that want to work in the healthcare space. All right, so now that we've gotten the people in the door, hopefully, we need to keep them. So we're going to talk now about some retention techniques that we have. So Sarah, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, unfortunately, Tim and Mary, healthcare organizations are experiencing lots of issues with retention and keeping nurses in particular, also providers and the other administrative staff. So it's a huge issue. There's a nursing shortage for one, and then providers are, you're seeing less and less people actually enroll in medical school, so there's a shortage with that as well. So it's even more important now to address that issue and make sure that organizations are doing all the things they need to do to retain the excellent people that they do have working for them. One of the things that we see when we do consulting with our clients is that the roles are often not very clearly defined in organizations. And because of that, people feel like they're being dumped on, so to speak, and they're given more responsibility than what their roles are, just confusion about their roles. With the fast changing pace of the healthcare industry and the necessity to change job descriptions I think at a more quick pace than some other industries, it's important that human resources really stays on top of redefining job roles and organizations to reduce that confusion. Also, cross-training, if you want to reduce your expenses, but at the same time, keep a staff that's really well-trained, as well as a staff that understands the responsibilities of other people in the organizations, cross-train them. One example would be in a medical practice, you usually have your front desk receptionist, and then you have your medical assistant. We work with organizations where we've hired all MAs for the front office part of the medical practice, and then we cross-train the medical assistant to do both the receptionist job and the medical assistant job on the back end. That way, they understand the responsibilities of each of the roles, and they can also fill in if someone is out sick. And so it works very well, and it makes people respect each other's position in the organization. And then lastly, I would talk about rewards, recognition and rewards. If people are working hard and they are contributing to an organization, they want to feel like they're recognized and that they're rewarded. And rewarded doesn't also always mean what their commission is or what their increase in their compensation is. It could be something as simple as using Nectar, which is, I know, a software system that can give them, you can allocate points and then reward them with an Amazon gift card, or simply saying thank you. A public shout out during a staff meeting that someone's done a good job. But it's so important that when people are contributing to your organization, that they feel rewarded, they are rewarded, and that they're recognized.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's great. And
Yeah, I agree. And there's tons of ways you can recognize, your employees. And one that we use internally is we use thanks.com, THNKS, there's no A. And we use that to send out gift cards. You can buy experiences on there, all kinds of different things that you can do to say thank you to your employees really easily. And another thing that we do for our employees is we really promote employee wellness. There's different apps that you can use for that. And one of the ones that we've suggest is Calm. It's an app that allows you to have, there's audiobooks on there, calming minutes, that kind of thing, where they're able to really, take a break and say, all right, I need a quick minute to mentally reset and get back to work and be more efficient.
I have that app and I love it.
Yeah, my son listens
use
to
it
it before he
myself.
goes to bed every day. So.
And I think it's especially important in a high-stress industry like healthcare, where it can sometimes be, a lot of pressure. And taking a few minutes to stop and meditate or reflect can, help people kind of keep going.
Mary, I actually start a lot of my meetings with a 1-minute meditation, just to get everyone focused when they come into the meeting and, ready to contribute and be creative in the meeting.
Yeah.
So we do a 1-minute meditation.
I love that. Great points. In terms of retention and technology tools that you can use to support retention, it's about professional development, like you were speaking about. We use a tool called Lattice, and that helps set clear goals and a growth and development plan for them. It's a place where the position description is kept and defined, and they can use that to set goals and move forward, and also to get recognition from their managers and peers. I think the points that you made about someone feeling valued and recognized is critical in these roles, and there are a lot of technology tools that can be used to help give someone a shout out or a high five, and make that easier. And then also collect that information and have that available to the manager during a performance review, so they can see all of the feedback that they've gotten from peers and stuff like that. So that's important.
And Mary, while you were talking, you made me think you could even use that tool to recognize the employees that recognize other people. In other words, even giving feedback to the person who takes the time to recognize other people, because that's also important, right?
Yeah.
And it also helps the managers themselves to remember to do those things, because a lot of times in medical practices, you're doing multiple things. Not only are you managing people, you have a role yourself. Knowing when to do your one-on-ones, when you have one-on-ones scheduled, remembering to schedule one-on-ones, it takes care of all that, which is really helpful.
It is. The other thing that is really useful is LinkedIn Learning that we use. And you were speaking about how you do training, and there are lots of different tools that you can use. We use LinkedIn Learning, which is the application that allows us to incorporate our own training into that platform, as well as they have tons of canned trainings that you can select for your employees to use, but it lets them do personal development as well as professional development, and I think that helps with retention as well. It can create a lot of efficiencies in terms of training, because in the healthcare industry, and a lot of times in IT as well, training becomes on-the-job shadowing, and there's a lot of sometimes if there's a lot of inconsistency in the way someone gets trained, and a lot of inefficiencies because you're having to do that training over and over again. And with technology and using a technology application to do that training, they can do that training on their own time, or in a time that works best for them. You don't have to worry about the scheduling, and you can also have better consistency and quality of information.
And I would think even if someone's doing the shadowing training, having the training you're mentioning prior to that would be helpful, because they would already have that training going in, and then they can observe the training in action.
And get up to speed faster.
That's right.
And feel more confident.
It also helps with the cross-training that you all mentioned earlier as well. Right now, for example, I'm going through the Peaks CompTIA training just to learn more about the IT aspects of the things that we do. So there's all kinds of different things you can use it for. So now we've hired them and we have them staying. We want to make sure that they're really engaged while they're here at the practice, whether that's with the practice itself, but also with their coworkers. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So Sarah, go ahead and take us away.
Tim and Mary, I find that when we were in pandemic mode and now coming out the pandemic, but a lot of organizations still having the hybrid model, you have to be creative in coming up with ways to make sure that you're still forming a team that enjoy working together, because that's really the key to creativity and maximizing your production in whatever industry you're in, but in particular in the healthcare industry. So we do a lot of, we recommend a lot of creative things to make sure people are forming strong teams. Everything from mindfulness and meditation and yoga classes to get people interacting and getting comfortable with each other outside of necessarily a work environment setting. But we also do things like outings where, throwing the axe. Don't ask me how well I do that, because
We just did that the other day, right?
Because
Yeah.
I won't tell you. But then there's also, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but you break glass. I think it's called.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yes, where you go in as a team, and especially if you're working on a frustrating project that you can tell there's a lot of tension and people are stressed out, you go and you literally break glass. You can throw it in the air and you can hit it with a bat, or you can hit it with a, whatever you want. And we did that one day, and after that, everyone was laughing and the stress was just eliminated. And at the same time, it helped us to relate to each other and to how all of us were managing our stress prior to having that outing. So, thinking outside the box, not just having pizza brought in for lunch, or, having a movie night, but something where people, your team members, are actually interacting with each other and getting to know each other as people. And then you end up coming together stronger as a professional team.
I love that.
Yep. You mentioned a movie night, but you can do that asynchronously too, which really helps with those hybrid or well spread out organizations, because you can do that with Disney Plus and I think Amazon Prime, where you can have a watch party and set it up
That's right.
online, and then everybody watch. But there's a ton of different online applications that you can use. So there's confetti.com, but then we also have done, for Peak anyway, we've done virtual murder mysteries that you go around and solve. You could do video game nights if you have the right staff for that. Get together with a bunch of friends and coworkers and play games together is a lot of fun. And then there's tons of game shows that you can do hybrid as well.
I've seen trivia.
Trivia,
a lot.
that's a big
Yeah.
one. So there's a ton of different applications and ways you can do this to make it so that your staff doesn't have to all go to one place. And while it is great to get everybody together, and you definitely want that as the goal, sometimes to make it more regular, you can have these online experiences and application experiences where they're able to at least engage with each other and see each other outside of work.
I really like the murder mystery one.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and nice that you can still find creative ways to use technology to help connect employees as they're geographically dispersed. I think technology in improving engagement is really critical. When we think about retention and engagement, they kind of go together. But you can have people that stay around that aren't really fulfilled and passionate about what they do, and that really has an impact on a healthcare practice or healthcare organization. It can really make a big difference if employees are engaged and fulfilled.
That's such an important point. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No.
one person can unravel a team.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So when I think about engagement, I think about, two different aspects. One is monitoring and measuring engagement, and there are lots of technologies to monitor and measure engagement. We use Lattice to do that. That's one of the applications to measure it. It kind of will help you understand, how engaged an employee is. But they're really all around asking questions and doing surveys to say, how engaged an employee is, and that's the monitoring and measuring. And the other aspect that technology can support engagement for is fostering engagement, and that's a lot of it about what you were talking about and some of the examples that you gave, Tim. But that fostering engagement can be chat channels that are specific to areas of interest for employees, and it's probably a tool or a technology that you already have implemented in your practice, like maybe Teams or Slack or whatever chat tool you use. But you can create channels for Peak, we have one for cats and for dogs.
I was going to
and,
bring up the cats one.
beer, and everyone kind of can jump into a channel and share pictures and stories, and it connects people with shared interests within an organization.
Mm-hmm.
And those
and
are some ways that you can foster engagement.
With Teams, almost anybody is going to have access to that or Google Chat or some way to connect. And I've seen a lot of practices that pay for it, because you're paying for it more than likely with your Microsoft subscriptions, but they just don't use it. So leveraging that technology, it is such a big tool that you have access to and that you're already paying for, so you might as well use it. But having that way for the staff to engage with each other and talk, it's way faster than email for solving problems, and it's just an easy way to communicate. So I definitely want you to take a look at it. All right, well, that'll keep our employees engaged. Sarah, we're coming to the end here. Is there anything else you'd like these practices to know?
I think the main important thing to know is that people are your greatest resource, and then you have technology that you use to support your people. And when you combine those two things together, you have a roadmap to be very successful.
Mary?
Yeah. Technology doesn't have to be expensive. It can be something that's already in your practice. I'd encourage everyone to stay curious and do your research and evaluate all of the ways in which technology can be used to support the recruitment and the engagement and the retention of your staff.
Awesome. So that's it for our talk on different ways that you can hire, retain, and engage your employees at your practice using both good techniques and tools for your practice. Following this, if you have any questions whatsoever on any of this, you can feel free to reach out to Sarah or myself to schedule some time to chat with us. I'd be more than happy to walk you through some different tools that we have access to, and I'm sure Sarah would love to chat with you about different techniques. Following this, we'll be posting to our website an article that kind of goes into depth on a lot more of these tools and techniques with costs and all that kind of good stuff associated with it. So definitely keep an eye on our website for that information, and thank you very much for your time.